It is, however, all worth it when you get to enjoy the fruit of your labour, sometimes quarter of an hour's work, and a nice hot drink is a huge morale enhancer when you're offshore. We are absolutely trucking along. Time is 10 p.m. Alpha, so that's 10 p.m. British Summer Time, 9 p.m. GMT, UTC, and we are just entering the Fair Isle Channel. Just had a certain amount of entertainment because the AIS layer on the plotter disappeared, so we were still transmitting AIS and receiving it actually, but it wasn't plotting on the chart plotter, which is not helpful since the Fair Isle Channel is a fairly busy shipping lane. However, a bit of fiddling later, we are back running. I'm just contemplating whether it's time to pull a reef in. The wind is slowly rising. I don't want to slow the boat down before I have to, and it's still plenty light, so I think we're just going to hold on for another half hour or so and maybe reef then. We're not quite in the land of the midnight sun. By the time we get to the top of Shetland, we'll only be 360 miles from the Arctic Circle, and so the nights are incredibly light here, and that's a great thing because it makes managing the boat in the dark a whole lot easier. It's getting chilly, so I think I'm probably going to change into my greens and maybe have another cup of tea. Good morning, it's 01:50 and we are approaching the massive bulk of the off-lying island of Fowler. I've just altered course slightly to bring us slightly to port so that we keep a good offing from the island, and also so that we don't get caught in wind shadow as we go past it. It's been a good night here. I'm very cautious at this time in the morning because this is humans' lowest point, circadian truck wise, and this is when we're most prone to making mistakes and otherwise messing things up. So yeah, we are in contact with the mainland of Shetland and picking up the lights as we come up the west coast. Good morning, it is the 24th of May and it is now full day. We have survived the night. It was a bit of a rambunctious ride for some of it, but that was good. We're now about 35 nautical miles from the top of Shetland and I'm just hiding in the cabin, staying warm, sticking my head out top every few minutes to have a quick look round. And yeah, I'm keeping fairly well close in onto the shore of Shetland because I don't want to end up with a massive tacking session to get round the top, because Boulder Sound's a bit down the east coast and we are going to have to put a tack in at the top to get round Muckle Flugga. I think we'll be into Boulder Sound somewhere between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m, I guess, at a very sort of crude guessing game. In the approach to the top of Shetland, Muckle Flugga, the sea conditions began to worsen and I had to concentrate on looking after myself and Trilleen. We then began what turned out to be a longer than expected session of tacking across the top of Shetland and down into the east coast. Muckle Flugga is definitely somewhere where you want wind with tide, but unfortunately that meant that we were pushing both, and the beat was, at times, pretty brutal, with Trilleen being underwater as much as on top of the waves. The headland itself is a wicked set of jagged, steeply bedded rocks, and the whole headland is definitely somewhere not to mess with. In the end, I stood on for several hours out into the North Sea to make sure that I had enough sea room for the approach to Boulder Sound. I'm currently pinned in behind a pier at Boulder Sound because the anchorage is full of weed, and I dragged my hook through what felt like several hundred tons of kelp. I've been pinned behind the pier for a couple of days because this wind has been quite unkind to us, and at the moment I'm hiding and sheltering behind a fish farm boat, which is very welcome, but they go out during the day and the boat behaves like a bucking horse alongside this pier because the sea's coming almost straight into the harbour. So I'm very much looking forward to hopefully getting out of here tomorrow if the wind does bend a little bit and allow us to get an angle down to Lurwick and civilization, which is about 40 miles to the south of here by the route that we have to take. Eventually the day came when I thought I might be able to break Trilleen out from the harbour at Boulder Sound, and after a thorough mumbling session to myself about the complications of getting off the wall while I made breakfast, I rigged lines from a fat fish farm catamaran ahead of me to pull my bow out from the wall. After preparing 2 reefs in the main, I asked the fishing boat on the other side of the pier for a hand, and 3 lovely, I think Filipino chaps came over and gave Trilleen the send-off she deserved. We are storming along on the way to Lurwick, currently doing 5 over the ground, and the log's reading 6.6, but I'm not actually trusting it very much at the moment. I don't believe we've got 2 knots of tide against us. I think the log's over reading, which I need to look into. The conditions are as given, which means we're looking at 20 plus. Boat's currently under reef 3 in the main and the jib, or at least part of the jib, and we are reaching at the moment. We're going to be coming onto a bit more of a close reach once we get round Fetlar, and that is why we're under 3 reefs, because the apparent's going to go up as we put our nose into the wind. Wind vane handling it lovely, and the boat's actually quite comfortable, which is nice, because the sail here to Boulder Sound from Muckle Flugga was not so comfortable, but this is actually ideal conditions for this sort of sail because we've got an offshore wind with very little fetch, and yeah, I mean there's some turbulence coming off the mountains here in Shetland, but there's not a huge sea running, and that's really why I felt it was going to be okay to slip out of Boulder Sound and make this passage. Shortly afterwards, things got very busy as we threaded our way through some of the passages off the outskerries of Shetland. Some of the passages going down to 2 cables, which is only about 370 metres. The boat was beating well, sailing down hard on the rum line to the great triangular bulk of Nos Head, where somewhat earlier than planned I tacked to avoid the screaming AIS alarms caused by a very exclusive cruise ship whose very exclusive guests were being taken by tender to explore the cliffs of Nos Head and its vast seabird colony with puffins and gannets. Shortly after that, it was time to hand the sails and head into Lurwick Harbour, forcing the tide through the North Channel. I didn't film very much in Lurwick. In fact, I didn't film anything in Lurwick because my mum came to visit, and I just wanted to have some family time and also to fix the list of things which had been busticated since I left Orkney. that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and can I remind you that I'm sailing around Britain and Ireland to raise money for the Andrew Cassell Foundation, and there is a fundraiser attached to this project. I would be honoured if you could donate to that. All the money goes directly to the Andrew Cassell Foundation, who are a really special charity that helps to get disabled people sailing fully independently on the water. I don't know when the next video will be. I try and put them out regularly, but I'm very, very bad at it, so I hope you will forgive me. I am doing a bit better at Instagram, so please do have a look over there and see what's going on.